meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.
On the Fringe. Hope everyone out there is doing wonderful. Happy Thursday. We're doing, of course, my favorite Law of One. Just great stuff that's in here. Today, we're going to cover a couple key things. One, oddly on this one, I don't know what it is. And I'm going to, quick story is, there's this connection between energy and recordings, I think, of things, or energy and whatever the case is. They got sick making this. I had the hardest time making this. I got phone calls in the middle, text messages in the middle. I literally had the microphone completely muted during an entire recording of it. All sorts of places where things did not happen well. This was one of the hardest ones for me to record, undoubtedly. Yeah. The lady was sick in the first one. My throat. It's right happening right now. I don't know what it is about this particular episode. I don't think they covered anything in particular that was spectacular, but they got into something that is. And the concept of the colors, the rainbows, the chakras, the densities, they're tying things together that I think are important for us to question, think about, right? So we've got that. There's a spiritual physical component versus physical spiritual. There's this, it happens with light, the colors. It happens with us in our lives, our higher selves. There is a spiritual component and a physical component. There was somebody that talked about, I don't know who it was that explained it as three. I want to say it was Dan Millman. But there was this concept of a child-like version of us. There was the robot machine, just just does the simple yes, no type stuff. And I feel like then there was a higher self or something. There was another third one. I'm drawing a blank on what exactly it was. But there was these three components that helped kind of guide us through our ways. And, the spiritual, physical, spiritual, I think kind of gets into that direction, if you will. We've also got the photon, electron. They get into the carbon, hydrogen. They get into a few things that are a little heavy, I guess, from the science side. It's still kind of cool. The chakras, again, the colors, the difference between service to self and service to others. It's funny, as I wrote it as good versus bad. Technically, it's not really a nice way to put it, or necessarily even correct. Service to self is that's a path. And it made me think of the narcissist friends that I have, family members even maybe, that are narcissists. It's just everything is about them. And you see them, you fall into their world sometimes. And that's a very service to self person. I think we all know somebody like that. It's not just like I get selfish sometimes. It's not what it is. It's not like that. It's like you are selfish to a level that's like, like cheers, man. Like, because it's a lot of us our brains don't wrap around it properly, I guess, right? So there's that. Okay, and then there we go. And that's so. And then we get in the next one. We get more into colors. Colors is interesting with densities, with our chakras. Again, I can only say I hate to bring it up. And I know it sounds stupid, and I think there's even videos I've seen now coming out kind of that this is a bad idea, which is awesome. Chakras are like figure them out. Start with your root. Don't be in a hurry, but there are ways. Like find books, opening chakra. Search that, open chakra, and do it like maybe in Amazon probably is okay. I've got a healing one. I've showed it before. I just don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, frankly. I've done chakra stuff in the past with other books, but I wanted to get another one, that was kind of fresher and newer. So things to think about, but expand those. Because as you get into the green ray, which we talk about today too, that is one of the keys. It's one of the real important parts is us hitting that love level place. It's powerful. It's powerful. So I think that covers us. Success of then and now. There was two, by the way, back in 1981, I think when this was all recorded. At that time, they were talking about the percentage of people that would actually graduate or were here to I think it might be here to green ray energy, something like that. I don't know. It was a small number, but that's changing. And I want you guys to key in on that because I keep talking about the ripple effect and the difference you guys make. That's what they were starting to talk about. You guys weren't all organized or here yet, teacher of teachers. I'm trying my best. And we had a moment where we had a much lower success rate way back then because a lot of us were just coming in and figuring out who we are. And here we are 40 plus years later? Good God. Yeah, right? So long ways later. And we are a long ways further along. I mean, again, it's powerful in the big picture. I've been working on this for so many years. I'm just happy to see how far along we've come. Anyways, we're doing session 39 and 40. And you guys got questions. Put them in the chat. Put question 2 to help make it easier. But we are going to kick this one off. Session 39, again, here I am again. She's sick from something again she did. I don't know. This girl, she's like a mistress. I'm telling you, she just gets out there and gets crazy. But she was doing something. And that said, she had a hard time. I feel like this episode was the hardest one I've ever had to record. Law of One, Session 39 on the Fringe. The Law of One, Session 39, recorded March 16th, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. I communicate now. Questioner. The instrument was wondering if her fragile feeling was the result of the chemical ingestion of about 6 weeks ago. Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. This instrument is now undergoing the most intensive period of physical complex debilitation distortion due to the doubling effect of the 2 ingestions. This instrument may expect this extremity to proceed for a period of 15 to 20 of your diurnal cycles. The weakness distortions will then begin to lift, however, not as rapidly as we'd first thought due to this instrument's ongoing weakness distortions. This instrument is very fortunate in having a support group which impresses upon it the caution necessary as regards these sessions at this time. This instrument is capable of almost instantaneously clearing the mental-emotional complex and the spiritual complex for the purity this working requires. But this instrument's distortions towards fidelity to service does not function to its best use of judgment regarding the weakness distortions of the physical complex. Thus, we appreciate your assistance at space-times such as that in your most recent decision-making not to have a working. This was the appropriate decision, and the guidance given this instrument was helpful. Questioner: is there anything that the instrument could do in addition to what she is attempting to do to help her condition get better faster? I know that she hasn't been able to exercise because of her foot problem for the last couple of days, not able to walk, but we are hoping to get back to that. Is there anything else that we should do? Is there anything else we could do? Ra: I am Ra. As we have implied, the negative entities are moving all stops out to undermine this instrument at this time. This is the cause of the aforementioned problem with the pedal digit. It is fortunate that this instrument shall be greatly involved in the worship of the one infinite Creator through the vibratory complexes of sacred song during this period. The more active physical existence, both in the movements of exercise and in the sexual sense, are helpful. However, the requirements of this instrument's distortions towards what you would call ethics have an effect upon the latter activity. Again, it is fortunate that this instrument has the opportunities for loving social intercourse, which are of some substantial benefit. Basically, in your third density continuum, this is a matter of time. Questioner: from your reading of this instrument's condition, can you approximate how often and how length of workings that we can plan in our future workings? Ra: I am Ra. This query borders upon infringement. The information given sets up fairly followable guidelines. However, we are aware that not only can each of you not read this instrument's auras and so see conditions of the physical complex, but also the instrument itself has considerable difficulty penetrating the precise distortions condition of its physical complex due to its constant dependence upon its will to serve. Therefore, we believe we are not infringing if we indicate that one working each alternate diurnal period in the matinal hours is most appropriate, with the possibility of a shorter working upon the free matinal period if deemed appropriate. This is so not only during this period, but in general. Questioner: I will then continue now with the general questioning, attempting to find a way into a line of questioning which will get us into the area of understanding non-transient functions which may be worked upon by us and others to raise our consciousness, and I may make several mistakes here in trying to find a way into this questioning. I apologize in advance if my questioning is misleading. I notice that everything seems, or most of the basic things, seem to be divided into units which total 7. In looking at a transcript by Henry Puharich from the 9, I found a statement by the 9 where they say, if we get 7 times the electrical equivalent of the human body, then it would result in 7 of the mass of electricity. Could you explain this? Ra: I am Ra. To explain this is beyond the abilities of your language. We shall, however, make an attempt to address this concept. As you are aware, in the beginning of the creation set up by each logos, there are created the complete potentials, both electrical, in the sense of what you would call Larson, and metaphysical. This metaphysical electricity is as important in the understanding, shall we say, of this statement as is the concept of electricity. This concept, as you are aware, deals with potentiated energy. The electron has been said to have no mass but only a field. Others claim a mass of infinitesimal measure. Both are correct. The true mass of the potentiated energy is the strength of the field. This is also true metaphysically. However, in your physical present system of knowledge, it is useful to take the mass number of the electrons in order to do work that you may find solutions to other questions about the physical universe. In such a way, you may conveniently consider each density of being to have a greater and greater spiritual mass. The mass increases, shall we say, significantly, but not greatly, until the gateway density. In this density, the summing up, the looking backwards, in short, all the useful functions of polarity have been used. Therefore, the the metaphysical electrical nature of the individual grows greater and greater in spiritual mass. For an analog, one may observe the work of the one known as Albert, who posits the growing to infinity of mass as this mass approaches the speed of light. Thus, the seventh density being, the completed being, the creator knows itself, accumulates mass, and compacts it into one creator once again. Questioner: then in the equation that I have here on this page, would MI refer to spiritual mass, I am assuming? Is this correct? There's a formula that's hard to read, but I'm going to try my best. MI equals, and in parentheses, M0 looks like times the creator's mass squared, or the creator's squared. I don't know. I don't know the whole formula. They divide that by the square root of 1 minus v squared divided by c squared, which would be the speed of light squared most likely. So whatever your velocity is currently squared divided by the speed of light squared, that, again, an interesting formula, MI referring to spiritual mass. They continue. Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. In reference to the spiritual mass. Questioner, thank you. Can you interpret a transmission from the nine where they say CH is a principle which is the revealing principle of knowledge and law? Can you tell me what that principle is? Ra, I am Ra. The principle so veiled in that statement is but the simple principle of the constant, or creator, and the transient, or the incarnate being, and the yearning existing between the two, one for the other, in love and light amidst the distortions of free will acting upon the illusion-bound entity. Questioner, was the reason that the nine transmitted this principle in this form was the reason for this first distortion? Ra, I am Ra. This is incorrect. Questioner, can you tell me why they gave the principle in such a veiled form then? Ra, I am Ra. The scribe is most interested in puzzles and equations. Questioner, I see. The nine describe themselves as the nine principles of God. Can you tell me what they mean by that? Ra, I am Ra. This is also a veiled statement. The attempt is made to indicate that the nine who sit upon the council are those representing the Creator, the one Creator, just as there may be 9 witnesses in a courtroom testifying for one defendant. The term principle has this meaning also. The desire of the scribe may be seen in much of this material to have affected the manner of its presentation, just as the abilities and preferences of this group determine the nature of this contact. The difference lies in the fact that we are as we are. Thus, we may either speak as we will or not speak at all. This demands a very tuned, shall we say, group. Questioner, I sense that there is fruitful ground for investigation of our development in tracing the evolution of the bodily energy centers, because these 7 centers seem to be linked with the all of the 7 that I spoke of previously, and be central to our own development. Could you describe the process of evolution of these bodily energy centers, starting with the most primitive form of life to have them? Ra, I am Ra. This material has been covered previously to some extent. Therefore, we shall not repeat information upon which rays dwell in the first and second density and the wherefores of this, but rather attempt to enlarge upon this information. The basic pivotal point of each level of development, that is, each density beyond second, may be seen as follows. Firstly, the basic energy of so-called red ray. This ray may be understood to be the basic strengthening ray for each density. It shall never be condescended to as less important or productive of spiritual evolution, for it is the foundation ray. The next foundation ray is yellow. This is the great stepping stone ray. At this ray, the mind-body potentiates to its fullest balance. The strong red, orange, yellow triad springboards the unity into the center ray of green. This again, a basic ray, but not a primary ray. This is the resource for spiritual work. When green ray has been activated, we find the third primary ray being able to begin potentiation. This is the first true spiritual ray in that all transfers are of an integrated mind-body-spirit nature. The blue ray seats the learning teachings of the spirit in each density within the mind-body complex, animating the whole, communicating to others this entirety of beingness. The indigo ray, though precious, is that ray worked upon only by the adept, as you would call it. It is the gateway to intelligent infinity, bringing intelligent energy through. This is the energy center worked upon in those teachings considered inner, hidden, and occult, for this ray is that which is infinite in its possibility. As you are aware, those who heal, teach, and work for the Creator in any way which may be seen to be both radiant and balanced are those activities which are indigo ray. As you are aware, the violet ray is constant and does not figure into the discussion of the functions of ray activation, in that it is the mark, the register, the identity, the true vibration of an entity. Questioner: in order to clarify a little bit, I would like to ask the question, if we have a highly polarized entity, polarized towards service to others, and a highly polarized entity, polarized towards service to self, what would be taking each ray, starting with red? Would there be a difference in the red ray of these two entities? Ra: I am Ra. This shall be the last full question of this working. There is no difference in equally strongly polarized positive and negative entities as regards red ray. Questioner: is this also true of all the other rays? Ra: I am Ra. We shall answer briefly. You may question further at another working. The negative ray pattern is the red, orange, yellow, moving directly to the blue, maybe indigo, this being only used in order to contact intelligent infinity. In positively oriented entities, the configuration is even, crystalline clear, and of the 7-ray description. Are there any short queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner: I only need to know if there is anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or help the contact. Ra: I am Ra. You are most conscientious. All is well. I leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. So a lot covered on this one, and I love the concept of colors, the chakras I keep talking about. I know it sounds stupid, but it really is. The root chakra is just a basic, fundamental part of who we are, and just appreciating that as an individual. Like, I'm here in a human body vessel, like just appreciating that kind of the root things. There's nothing wrong with any of them. They're needed. They're all important. There is no chakra that's more important than another. There's no density that's more important than another. They work together. And it's really like they talk about kind of the octave concept, right? The octave, there's 8. But once you hit 8, you start the next beginning, right? So 7 is kind of that like final resting point before you hop into the next place, the black hole, the who knows, right? The surprise. And I think to some degree that even represents what death would be considered, right? It's like jumping through the veil. That's crazy for all of us. So that happens. This message in particular, by the way, when it starts off, I felt like there was a slight variant in the way that they sounded, the words used. I think part of it was what she was going through. I think some of it was the attack, like it was actually affecting the message a little bit. That happens every once in a while in the Law of One. But it's also important to point out that's how channeling works. Like if you're not dialed in, and sometimes, people are on schedules, we're going to do it Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And maybe that's not good for you, because right now, Wednesday morning, you're jacked. Your energy's all a mess, right? So sometimes it's not a good place to try to push things. Sometimes you've got to really pay attention, know thyself. You've got to know what's going on with yourself, or else you open yourself up to possible bad stuff, bad mojo, bad energy. Let's see what else we got here. Red ray, core, yellow, orange, green. So the green is the law. It's the leap. It's the great leap. Again, I think it's Dan Millman, might be, but it's the place where you do something because you have to. It bugs you. Like you're like, I'm I'm going to open this business. I'm going to do this thing. Like you do something, you have a child, you get married. I don't know. It depends. There's a difference. I'm not trying to blanket broad paint, but there is this idea that we can kind of open ourselves up to feeling. Everything says don't do this, but you feel it like I got to do this. This is the thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Like it's keeping me awake at night. Keeping me awake at night. I have to do this. And when we finally do it, we realize that there is this leap, the green ray. It's that heart energy. It's why they call it that. I mean, it really is. It'll change your life, just the experience walking through the door. This is what I think frequently talk about walking through the door is this. The eye of the needle, I think, is a little further down the road, but not as important. But the door is easy for most. So yeah, the colors, yeah, red, orange, green. So red, orange, yellow is the big deal with the deep state, or well, sorry, not the deep state, the service to self. They don't really get into the other colors. There is I think they said violet or indigo as a connection. I don't think that was correct though. But there is a connection point, obviously, to higher self. But for the most part, they're dealing with that lower behind the green chakra, behind that fourth chakra, behind that great leap. They haven't felt. They don't feel. They don't have that. That's what's so uniquely different, and that's what's important for us to understand that we have that's so important. Is we have that feeling. We have that. We've touched it and experienced it. And so because of that, we can talk about it. We can help other people feel comfortable. Well, I don't know. I just feel like I've got to do this, but it just seems stupid. Like I'm always successful. Like it's like, well, you want to be successful now, or you want to keep being not successful? And so it's that chance for us to help others. And I think that's a big deal. All right, so let's see. Negative, red, orange, yellow. Yeah, we talked about that kind of. Violet is kind of the violet energy, or the violet chakra. It's like the energy or the color coming out of that is all about your highlighter. Like if you had a highlighter, like a lot of us would maybe choose yellow or orange or green or whatever, but it's the actual true highlighter of you, your soul, your juice, your color, your goods. It's tied into that. So, all right, there's that. I think I might have some questions here. My good friend A-Score is helping me out. Maggie's asking, all right, question. I keep hearing about these colored skies in different places, and quite recently in San Padre Island in Texas. Do you have any feelings about that? Colored skies. I have a hard time right now with the weather and where we're at with it, because I think there's a lot of modification that's been done in many places. I think there's attacks that have gone back and forth. I think there are things that we have been doing to one another. But I also think that some of these things are changing and coming down, like coming back. And so what happens, I always wonder in my mind, like if there's been this constant manipulation and then all of a sudden we stop manipulating, how long does it take to get back to what normal is? And then what's normal right now? Plus, we do have a magnetic field issue thing going on. So I feel like are a lot of things going on that's causing, maybe my point, I guess, clouds in higher atmosphere or higher levels maybe than normal. So the colors that might reflect or show, I'm not trying to, swamp gas it. I'm not trying to be like that, but I'm just trying to say that I think there are a lot of unique things going on right now that we're all having weird experiences with weather. I think that, like, again, you open up your front door. I frequently talk about this. Open up the front door. What are you seeing outside? And a lot of us are seeing weird weather, right? So what is that? Like, a lot of us, I think, want to write it off to it's crazy. It's technology. It's them doing that right to us. And then there's a whole other side that very much makes it like this is man, this is carbon, this is all that. And I honestly think there's another side even too with the, like I said, the sun and the electrical output and the magnetic field moving and the craziness that's happening there. Like there's a lot of things going on. And so is it one or the other? Is it all the above? Is one trying to distract from another? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, we're trying to get through this together. So I think there's some tie-ins to a lot of things. I guess just put it that way. Ruwalt 77 question: are the 7 colors represent the 7 densities? Yes, that's what they do talk about. 7 colors of the rainbow too for you guys. Roy G. Biv, Roy, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Yeah. The colors I think are, again, this has been a tough one to get through. The colors are, it seems representative of the densities. They do talk about that. Maggie, let's see, questions. Are we going through another dimension, or are we seeing through the veil? Yeah, I would say seeing through the veil is probably closer to the reality. We are, all right, like it's when the programming doesn't work, when you finally wake up from it and they keep doing it on the news. It's for some reason it doesn't affect you anymore, right? Like you watch it and you're like, I see what they're doing, right? So it's that. I think breaking through the veil. It's that I'm starting to realize I've been lied to, or I'm starting to realize, this, that, or the other thing. There's much to it. And again, as I frequently talk, I think it's important to see what is projected to us. It is definitely your experience that you're having, and showing you the way specifically. Each one of us has our own unique path, right? So your path isn't identical to anyone else, nobody else, right? It's similar, probably, maybe at best, but it's not identical to anybody. And so it's important to understand that. Like, pay attention to your signs and symbols. You've got your own way to go. It's being shown to you by God, or however you want to phrase it in your mind. It's being shown to you, and follow it. All right, so we're going to do the last one. 40 covers like more of the color stuff. And so one of the questions that we were getting in there from Maggie about the colors, I think you'll be happy with what we get going on here. Because, yeah, the densities and colors, that was a very astute question, are definitely tied together. So this is session 40, again, recorded, I don't know, like I think maybe a few days later, right here. Session 40, Law of One, recorded 1981, Marchish. Law of One on the Fringe. The Law of One, Session 40, recorded March 18th, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner. I thought that I would make a statement and let you correct it. I am trying to make a simple model of the portion of the universe that we find ourselves in. Starting with the logos, or sublogos, our sun, we have white light emanating from this. This is made up of frequencies ranging from red to the violet. I am assuming that this white light that contains the experiences through all of the densities, and as we go into the 8th density, we go into a black hole which emerges on the other side as another logos or sun and starts another octave of experience. Can you comment on this part of my statement? Ra. I am Ra. We can comment upon this statement to an extent. The concept of the white light of the sub-logos being prismatically separated and later, at the final chapter, being absorbed again is basically correct. However, there are subtleties involved which are more than semantic. The white light, which emanates and forms the articulated sub-logos, has its beginning in what may be metaphysically seen as darkness. The light comes into that darkness and transfigures it, causing the chaos to organize and become reflective or radiant. Thus, the dimensions come into being. Conversely, the blackness of the black hole, metaphysically speaking, is a concentration of white light being systematically absorbed once again into the one Creator. Finally, This absorption into the one creator continues until all the infinity of creations have attained sufficient spiritual mass, in order that all form once again the great central sun, if you would so imagine it, of the intelligent infinity awaiting potentiation by free will. Thus, the transition of the octave is a process which may be seen to enter into timelessness of unimaginable nature. To attempt to measure it by your time measures would be useless. Therefore, the concept of moving through the black hole of the ultimate spiritual gravity well and coming immediately into the next octave misses the subsequent or corollary of the portion of this process which is timeless. Questioner: our astronomers have noticed that the light from the spiritual galaxies is approximately 7 times less than it should be. From their calculations of what their mass should be, I was just wondering if that was due to the increase of spiritual mass in the galaxies in what we call white dwarf stars. Ra: I am Ra. This is basically correct and is a portion of the way or process of creation's cycle. Questioner: thank you. I was also wondering if the first density corresponded somehow to the color red, the second to the color orange, the third to the color yellow, and so on through the densities corresponding to the colors in perhaps a way so that the basic vibration that forms the photon, that forms the core of all atomic particles, would have a relationship to that color in the density, and that vibration would step up for second, third, and fourth density corresponding to the increase in the vibration of the colors. Is this in any way correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is more correct than you have stated. Firstly, you are correct in positing a quantum, if you will, as the nature of each density, and further correct in assuming that these quanta may be seen to be of a vibratory natures corresponding to colors as you grasp this word. However, it is also true, as you have suspected but not asked, that each density is of the metaphysical characteristic complex of its ray. Thus, in first density, the red ray is the foundation for all that is to come. In second density, the orange ray is that of movement and growth of the individual, this ray striving towards the yellow ray of self-conscious manifestations of a social nature as well as individual. Third density being the equivalent, and so forth, each density being primarily its ray, plus the attractions of the following ray, pulling it forward in evolution, and to some extent coloring or shading the chief color of that density. Questioner: then the bodily energy centers for an individual would be, assuming that the individual evolves in a straight line from its first thought to 8th density, would each of these energy centers or chakras be activated to completion if everything worked as it should? Would each be activated to completion and greatest intensity by the end of experience in each density? Ra: I am Ra. Hypothetically speaking, this is correct. However, the fully activated being is rare. Much emphasis is laid upon the harmonies and balances of individuals. It is necessary for graduation across densities for the primary energy centers to be functioning in such a way as to communicate with intelligent infinity and to appropriate and bask in this light in all its purity. However, to fully activate each energy center is the mastery of few, for each center has a variable speed of rotation or activity. The important observation to be made once all necessary centers are activated to the minimal necessary degree is the harmony and balance between these energy centers. Questioner: thank you. Taking as an example the transition between second and third density, when this transition takes place, does the frequency of vibration which forms the photon, the core of all particles of the density, does this frequency increase from a frequency corresponding to second density or orange, the color orange, the frequency we measure for the color orange, to the frequency we measure for the color yellow? What I am getting at is this. Do all the vibrations that form the density, basic vibrations of the photon, increase in a quantum fashion over a relatively short period of time? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. And then you see within each density the gradual upgrading of vibratory level. Questioner, this is a guess, would the frequency going from second to third increase from the middle orange frequency or average orange frequency to the middle yellow frequency or average yellow frequency? Ra, I am Ra. This query is indeterminate. We shall attempt to be of aid. However, the frequency that is the basis of each density is what may be called a true color. This term is impossible to define given your system of sensibilities and scientific measurements, for color has vibratory characteristic both in space-time and in time-space. The true color is then overlaid and tinged by the rainbow of the various vibratory levels within that density, and the attraction vibrations of the next true color density. How long was the time of transition on this planet between second and third density? Generation and a half, I believe. Is that correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. The time measured in your years being approximately 1,350 years. Questioner, then what will be the time of transition on this planet from third to fourth density? Ra, I am Ra. This is difficult to estimate due to the uncharacteristic anomalies of this transition. There are, at this space-time nexus, beings incarnate which have begun fourth density work. However, the third density climate of planetary consciousness is retarding the process. At this particular nexus, the probability vortices indicate somewhere between 100 and 700 of your years as transition period. This cannot be accurate due to the volatility of your peoples at this space-time. Questioner, has the vibration of the basic of the photon of all of our particles increased in frequency already? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. It is this influence which has begun to cause thoughts to become things. As an example, you may observe the thoughts of anger becoming those cells of the physical bodily complex going out of control and becoming what you call the cancer. Questioner, what, assuming that we are our vibration, I am assuming this vibration started increasing about between 20 and 30 years ago. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. The first harbingers of this were approximately 45 of your years ago. The energies vibrating more intensely through the 40-year period preceding the final movement of vibratory matter, shall we say, through the quantum leap, as you would call it. Questioner, starting then 45 years ago and taking the entire increase in vibration that we will experience in this density change, approximately what percentage of the way through this increase of vibration are we right now? Ra, I am Ra. The vibratory nature of your environment is true color green. This is at this time heavily overwoven with the orange ray of planetary consciousness. However, the nature of quanta is such that the movement over the boundary is that of discrete placement of vibratory level. Questioner, you mentioned that thoughts of anger now are causing cancer. Can you expand on this mechanism as it acts as a catalyst or its complete purpose? Ra, I am Ra. The fourth density is one of revealed information. Selves are not hidden to selves or other selves. The imbalances or distortions, which are of a destructive nature, show, therefore, in more obvious ways, the vehicle of the mind-body-spirit complex, thus acting as a teaching resource for self-revelation. These illnesses, such as cancer, are correspondingly very amenable to self-healing once the mechanism of the destructive influence has been grasped by the individual. Questioner, then you are saying that cancer is quite easily healed mentally and is a good teaching tool because it is quite easily healed mentally, and once the entity forgives the other self at whom which he is angry, cancer will disappear. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is partially correct. The other portion of healing has to do with forgiveness of self and a greatly heightened respect for the self. This may conveniently be expressed by taking care in dietary matters. This is quite frequently a part of the healing and forgiving process. Your basic premise is correct. Questioner: in dietary matters, what would be the foods that one would include, and what would be the foods that one would exclude, in a general way, for the most or the greatest care of one's bodily complex? Ra: I am Ra. Firstly, we underline and emphasize that this information is not to be understood literally, but as a link or psychological nudge for the body and the mind and the spirit. Thus, it is the care and respect for the self that is the true thing of importance. In this light, we may iterate the basic information given for this instrument's diet: the vegetables, the fruits, the grains, and to the extent necessary for the individual metabolism, the animal products. These are those substances showing respect for the self. In addition, though this has not been mentioned, for this instrument is not in the need of purification, those entities in need of purging the self of a poisoned thought form or emotion complex do well to take care in following a program of careful fasting until the destructive thought form has been purged analogously with the byproducts of ridding the physical vehicle of excess material. Again, you see the value not to the bodily complex, but used as a link for the mind and spirit. Thus, self revealed to self to self. Questioner: thank you. A very important concept. Does the fact that basic vibration that we experience now is green true color or fourth density account for the fact that there are many mental effects upon material objects that are now observable for the first time in a mass way, like the bending of metal by mind? Ra: I am Ra. This shall be the final query and total of this working. This is not only correct, but we suggest that you take this concept further and understand the great number of entities with the so-called mental diseases being due to the effect of this green ray true color upon the mental configurations of those unready mentally to face the self for the first time. Are there any brief queries before we close? Questioner: just two. With respect to what you just said, would then people incarnating here by seniority of vibration, who incarnate for the service to self path, be ones who would have extreme difficulty mentally with this green ray vibration? Ra: I am Ra. This is incorrect. It is rather the numbers who have distracted themselves and failed to prepare for this transition yet who are somewhat susceptible to its influence who may be affected. Questioner: thank you. I'll just ask if there's anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra: this instrument as well. You are conscientious. The appurtenances cause this instrument greater comfort in the distortion of the warmth of the bodily complex. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the love and light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth then rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. I like the Adonai thing. I just like, it would have been cool if he was like, rock on, I don't think that would have been the way. That'd be inappropriate, but would have been fun. Starting the black hole concept. I think it's a fun way to think about the transitioning of energy through the next crazy spatial thing. There's something beyond that. And I don't know if that's the same realm as death, because I don't think it is. Maybe. That's part of the fun, this whole experience we're all talking about. It's good enough. Clearing chakras is like clearing a prism. So right, you got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. It makes like you shine white light into it and it spreads it out into a rainbow of colors. Taste the rainbow like Skittles, right? Except hopefully with less food dyes now. I think that's what they say. So these, if you clean it, you want to make sure all your colors are actually coming through. Maybe not all perfectly, vibrantly, awesomely, but coming through. You want to make sure, and green for sure, but that's a separate thing. But again, I can't overstate it. I don't think I can. I keep doing it. overstating it maybe. Color, space-time, time-space. The fact that color, there's people that have talked about having experiences with hallucinogenics where they could taste color, see time, like a lot of these kinds of concepts. And it's true. Colors have a space-time component. They have like a moment in time. They have this component that is extra dimensional. And we see it. You know, it was funny. Recently a color was invented, right? And it probably wasn't, because it's not real in the higher dimension, right? It's a color that was created here. Maybe it was invented here, but it wasn't necessarily invented in the real, if you will. I don't know. It's kind of, we can define that a lot. We can have conversations around that concept. And finally, I got a bunch of questions too, which I'll get to. Purging, for those that are trying to clean, they talk about cancer and healing and stuff like that. First off, you've got to get your mind to stop having negative angers. There's a lot of thoughts and feelings and emotions that some of us live in and swim in on a regular basis. And those are just bad for your health. We're not supposed to just constantly walk around all pissed off, right? Unless you live in, like, Boston. Because I think you're supposed to be angry. Like, they have that face. And I go, I'm always angry. Always. Anyway, it's not funny. I mean, if you live in Boston. Outside of Boston, it's kind of funny. So yeah, purging is, you want to clean up your system. You want to clean up your thinking. And you want to do a process. It's not necessarily like pushing the wellness company as much. It's more an issue of, even if you just do like a fasting of like a day of no food, or a few days of no alcohol, or stop eating chips for a week, or so, I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of things we do that are unhealthy. The processed foods, everything. So they put chemicals and nasty stuff into us. It's, again, purging is just a concept. Dis-ease or disease, uncomfort, it's kind of what it is. So anyway, all said. All right, did my stuff. All right, let's get into questions. You guys are more, holy crap, got a butt ton of questions. I think that's a technical term. Sheila, let's see, question, could Creation cycle be compared to breath? I think it can, but I feel like there's a constant expansion of spirit. Like, you're constantly becoming more. You're constantly learning and becoming more aware of things, right? So the idea that we would contract necessarily, I don't know. Contracting into, like, again, like one thing I've always thought, this was just to be crazy for a second, but the idea that we are like similar to a sun, and we accumulate enough spiritual matter, as this formula was talking about, and we are able to compress down and sort of become a black hole, at which point we would pump through the veil to the next place, in which case we would begin a new sun. And I feel like that might be the out breath, and in the in breath might be the moving from, through the black hole. So I don't know. I feel like there's something there. I don't want to, shoot it down per se. We also got a question from Sheila as well. Do you see med beds as temporary, as we are actually able to heal ourselves and help others healing? Med beds are once again, looking outside of ourselves to do something that we should be able to do ourselves. Now, I get, for some people that's a big, big leap. So I get that. I think it's important to also understand the thing that made us unhealthy isn't just some weird random, like a photon shot through you that got, Spider-Man flinged you with his thing. Like, no, it's not how it works. You have this energy grid about you, and however you've played things out through the conversations, the choices, like, sometimes things create angry energy in ourselves, and that energy can turn into bad places. It can be through parasitic, it can be through a lot of things that maybe manifest itself, and there's ways to sort of clean yourself from the different angles. But if you don't clean the impurity that's creating the problem, again, swiping a Band-Aid on something that's going to keep seeping, right? Like, it's not fixing the problem. So we've got to be really cognizant of that, because yeah, you could go into a med bed and get all juiced up and groovied, and then come back out and be like, again, be a dick. That person walks across you in front of the crosswalk with their stupid walker, and you're like, right? I'm kidding, just trying. But you get my point, I hope. Anyways, so yeah. We got lots of questions. You guys are awesome. Maggie, see, what about the frequency of sound? Some are very spiritual, reading about the bells, hung and rung. Hung and rung. I like that. Everywhere. Talked about with Tartaria and keep away the evil. I don't know if Tartaria needs to come necessarily to the bell thing, but bells are cool. Tones are cool. Certainly. You're definitely in a cool thing. I've got one of them cool bowls. There's certain frequencies that just you can kind of groove to, vibrate to, meditate to, even for that matter. So I think you're into stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I am, again, like I said, I love Tartaria. That's cool stuff. But I don't necessarily think you need to tie it to the sounds and all that stuff. I feel like that's unnecessary. And the evil stuff, not even necessary either. If you're worried about evil, put on your armor of God, literally, Maggie. That's all you got to do, right? Like armor of God, you're good. So you don't need bells and whistles and all this different stuff. Yeah, that's when you start getting into like voodoo and hoodoo, kind of, if you will, being extreme. So you really just want to know that you're protected, right? Just golden white light around you. Do a bubble if you have to, but know that your armor of God is on and you're protected at all times, always. All right, another question, I think, from Maggie. I hear that the rhythm of certain sounds do heal people. Do you feel we have that back again? I feel that we are manifesting quicker right now. The frequencies are being spun up quicker and quicker and quicker, and those of us that can't figure out how to control our thoughts are going to probably destroy ourselves. And I think that's kind of what we're gonna go through. I don't know exactly how that manifests, but I do think it's going to get worse and worse and worse as we progress further. I think we're in the time. I think, like I said earlier on a show, the clock tick is actually happening. I really do think. I think the clock tick, like the hand is moving to the final position, like, like Back to the Future. And anyway, it was a fun episode. But I don't know, it's a great question. Maggie, you're asking some great stuff. I love it. Think 2000. I'm thinking of it right now. I hope that helped. Question: how do you view quantum entanglement in respect to infinite intelligence? I like that. That's a deep question. Deep thoughts. Infinite intelligence is, I think, outside of quantum entanglement, to be honest with you. I think quantum entanglement's kind of like some of the hooey-fooey that we use to explain the physical world we're living in. And when you get into infinite intelligence, you're stepping outside of that dimension. I just don't think they're necessarily the same place. Now, can I explain a higher dimension? It's hard. Like a hypercube is supposed to be a 4D object. You could look that up. That's a tricky thing, though, because it's going to be on a 2D, two-dimensional screen, right? And then there's going to be this component sort of freaked in on the 3D component with the 4D rendering on top of that. So it is weird. Like, you've kind of got to let your mind sort of see it. It's like those crazy 3D pictures where you like have to blur your face and then all of a sudden you can see the weird 3D picture. So it is possible, I guess, in the big picture. But I do think they're kind of outside of each other. I think that's it's a fun question. Pet, my good friend, asked a question. So being sick is having a grudge on another self because of something it done, and to heal you got to make peace with it. Sick is, it depends on the sick. Now, sick is and I know Pet's got some stuff that Pet's going through, so I understand his situation a teeny bit specifically more, but some of us are debilitated for a reason. And there is talk, and it was one of the sessions where I don't know if it was Roosevelt, one of them, because he went into the wheelchair, and it was because of the bellicose nature. So there are aspects into our paths that are very narrow. And if we get outside of the spectrum of the path, that's kind of why I like teachers, you guys specifically, like, You got to stay in the narrow. You got to stay in your path. If you get too far outside the path, life will smack you down, and if you don't, it could smack you down hard. Now, again, are every single thing that we go through related to that? Kind of, but there's depth to it. It's not that simple. I mean, you could paint it as sort of a negative thing, but if you look at what it's done, at what it's brought you, at what probably led to it, oftentimes there's a myriad of messages in there, and I think those messages are super important in discovering why we're going through this thing that seems jacked, like seems horrible. And so I mean, again, Pat, I know you're going through some challenges. So I do think we do it to ourselves, though. I mean, I do. I do think we do it to ourselves. I don't think anyone's doing it to us. Sheila is asking us, hey, I have a bunch of questions. Know yourself. Oh, okay. So question, know yourself, accept yourself, become creator, oneness. Does this seem like a very simplified overview of progress? Know yourself, accept yourself, become creator. Accept your creator, not necessarily become. You are creator. I mean, there's no becoming. You are. It's just an issue of accepting that. So accepting yourself would be accepting your creatorness. I feel like that's lumped in there. Know yourself is, yeah, and it's knowing your triggers, like knowing what gets you, knowing what fires you off, you know? Because I fall into this sometimes, man. Not you, man, but just man in general. But there are times where just certain people can hit that little right, like I can start barking, and it's like, oh my god, dude, relax. So yeah, we know yourself, know when it's just better to put your hands underneath your butt while you're sitting in the chair, or take a breath. Just oh gosh, one more. Yeah, that first one wasn't good enough. So very, very good stuff. I like that, Sheila. Rewalt77. Question. Hey, if one suffers trauma as a child, should they, over time, need to forgive the trauma to be able to be more towards the next density color? Okay, first off, I'm not a shrink. Just want to say that. Just make sure we're covering on the legal side of things. If you've suffered trauma as a child, a lot of what's happened to us in our lives, a lot of what we've experienced, a lot of what we've been through is meant to shape us to become who we were supposed to be, who we're becoming, who we should be. And so there are many of us that have been through traumatic events in our lives, and it is what has shaped us. You will find actually in these circles, the people that comment constantly inside this chat room, they will be people that are very traumatized in some way, shape, or form. Many of us are going to connect on that level, and that is part of who we are. So there is a lot to be said to that. And accepting the trauma is not so much, I think, as important as accepting the lesson within the trauma. There's nothing that any of us have ever really, truly experienced that came like a real significant leap in understanding or evolution personally has never happened without pain. Never. There's always some level of trauma that is involved. So I think it's important to keep that in perspective as well, in the big picture. Again, hope I'm answering these questions sufficiently. Think Zero of 2000. You guys are asking them too fast. Stop it. Just a question. Do you see interacting with intelligent infinity as form or spiritual quantum entanglement? You're using all these fancy words. Do you see interacting with intelligent infinity as form? I don't know what form means. I don't know spiritual quantum entanglement. I don't really know what that means either. Interacting with intelligent infinity is interacting with your higher dimensional self, your spiritual self, yourself, your soul, your source self, your who you are as a being, your core. That's what I kind of see it as. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what words you're using. Sorry. You ask also, are we all just stem cells and a creator getting vetted to see what role we play as we ascend? Why it sound like the question kind of removes yourself from being like part of the creator component to it. So I do think all of us are our individual creator. I don't think there's some outside creator that's forcing your life into a certain path. I truly think the reason we're here is so we learn how to focus our own minds on positive, because so many, well, here specifically, it's a playground. I mean, we're babies. We don't know how to not think dangerous thoughts. We think fear thoughts. We think all these different thoughts. And a lot of it's programming, and hopefully that's changing. But we ultimately do. We think fear thoughts. We think dangerous thoughts. We think thoughts on insecurity. We think all these kinds of thoughts. And those are manifesting thoughts that create that outcome. It's, again, I've talked about how it like turns on your laser beams. It's what you stare at, like the thing you're afraid of. And now all of a sudden it's happening. And so learning how to manage our thoughts and focus is really a big deal. And I think way underrated. Way underrated. It's probably one of the most important things we do while we're here. All right, so, but throwing some interesting words in there. Maggie, question: how do you feel about the fact that there were actually 13 months with 28 days? I think when you do that, it's 364 days, which I think, correct me on the math, I think I'm right on that. And I always love that. I love the 13 months. I think the fact that September, sept, and it's the 9th month of our year, right? Like, it's obviously not the 9th. Sept is 7th, right? Oct, 8, August, right? 8. So we've got these funny numbering systems that don't seem to play out. So I'm game with your idea that we probably had a different calendar. Some are speculating that time is, the Earth is slowing down. There's like weird things, and maybe we're moving further away. Again, there's so many fun things around the Earth. But yeah, no, 13 months. Now here's the question I throw out to you guys, right? We got 12 zodiacs, right? 12 zodiacs. What's the 13th zodiac? What's the missing zodiac? I think if we figure that out, right? My show just get shut down, right? I think if we figure that out, we've got kind of a missing link, if you will. So you guys go find that out, figure that out, because I think it's a great question, and I've wondered about that. What's the missing zodiac? Because there is one probably. And think again. Question: when trying to teach, learn, what are some bullet points to start people off beyond know thyself and find balance? I'm trying to teach, learn. Well, you should, if you're from where you're coming at, I would suggest you actually phrase it differently. I would say, when you learn, teach, where should you be coming from? And I think you will find life will present you all sorts of opportunities. One of the things I think is very significant if you're trying to move yourself forward is to think about, what is it that you would like to be good at, better at, a master at? What is it that you are here to do? What is it? Know thyself is important, because it gets you to that point where you're like, why am I here? Why do I want to be here? What do I enjoy doing? And when you can actually answer that question honestly, you will find that you're able to then take a step towards it. And that is the point when doors start to open up. You start to become aware of like the interaction between universe, the soul, door, the world, and yourself. So again, learn, teach is about becoming a master. At least in my mind, it was. I don't know if there's a better way, and so I don't mean that to be tough for anybody, because that's a pretty big like thing to kind of. That's a big like, you got to eat an elephant. Just saying. And how do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time, like bite by bite. Beat a bite at a time. It is the truth of it, and it's important to be able to look at a challenge that way as well. Something may seem magnificent, but you understand it's possible, it's passable. There's a way, under it, over it, around it, something. There's a way, always. It's just, it helps you reach this level of thinking where nothing can stop you, and it'll put you into a, I don't want to say different class because that's not fair. That's a bad word too. But it'll put you into a different level, a game, like a video game. You'll just, I don't know, you'll just make more per hour, if you will, on average. Like, I don't know. It's just, you'll see it manifest in your life in significant ways, whatever that might be. You know, you'll be better at it than anything. Let's see where I'm at. I think I got one last one. Question: is it the dragon, dude? Maggie, the dragon. It makes me think of the last dragon. Is what I think. That you are the last dragon. You are the power of the Lord. Whatever that song was. I don't know. Whatever. That's what that makes me think of. Is it the dragon? I have no idea what the hell you're saying, Maggie. That's awesome. It is the dragon, I guess. I don't know. Guys, this was fun. We had a lot of questions. That's getting crazy. And I thank you guys for joining us on this. Again, this session's the chakras, I think, are the most important thing that you could possibly want to deal with. It is, again, know yourself. That's important, like was being brought up by I think it was. But you really have to start to pay attention to the places where you're out of kilter. And I think the chakras, when you start to look into some of them, you'll start to notice the parts of your life that the chakras represent, and you will find a weird correlation with things in your life. And as you modify your relationships and the way you react to things and those types of things, you'll find that your chakras will start to open up. Your life will start to get better, easier, more in line. It's a coincidence, I bet. I love you guys. I'm going to do my best to help. I know people think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. I'm trying my best though, guys. I love you all. We're going to go out, of course, with the Law of One intro, outro. We're going to throw it all over you, but it's right here. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be doing next week, 4142. It's on the Fringe, Law of One.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.